Welcome, everybody, to another episode of True Confessions of a Car Guy. My name is Bagi. I'm the producer of the show. Along with me in studio is our host, John, and a very, very special guest that we've been waiting for a long time, Richie Luciano. Richie, thank you so much for joining us. We've been waiting for this for a long time.
It's my pleasure. And you know what? I would have been on a long time ago, but I'm fighting with so many different people, Social Security, jobs, this, that, everything. After I worked for 42 years, I'm fighting with Social Security for 3 years. And as you'll get to know my personality, if I'm right, I'm going to fucking die fighting. If I'm wrong, I'm a man, I'll apologize. There's no apology to our government, so they've got a lot of stuff coming at the end of the day. So, you know, me and John were sitting around.
This was mine and Richie's idea together. So, Richie, let's not get it confused right now. Richie's going to be on every week. He was my co-host from the beginning. It was the plan. And then, you know, stuff. He got hit by a truck.
You can't make the stuff up that's happened to me.
Golf cart. He got hit in a golf cart. But here, so you know, he's been in the car biz a long time. I've been in the car biz a long time. We both ended up intersecting at Cox Automotive, working for, it was V Auto at the time. It wasn't Cox. And we both ended up in school. And for the first time in my life, being in the car business, I ran into three guys who were just as good as me, if not better than me, in the car business. And that was Richie, a guy named John Sakula, and a guy named Dwayne Hurl. Sorry, Chris and Mark and
Sam Mazin.
Mazin. Sorry, I just, no offense. It just, you guys came from small markets, and anyhow, these guys were the real deal. They've done big volume. So Richie and I, we were like the slow kids in the class.
I don't know fucking computers. First of all, when computers came out, I never was AOL looking at porno. So I never got into computers and how to work all that shit. At the dealership, we had certain computers. I could work all those. So ADP, Reynolds & Reynolds, UCS, Lease Profit, any of those computers came along, I could work them just fine. And I believed in the technology because that helped me advance and make my job easier. But as far as working a computer, Microsoft, porno shit, I didn't do any of that stuff. So I didn't know how to work that stuff. You know, it's funny because that first week, we got the first day. Here's what I mean about the car business. The first day we get there, I took the job last second. So I'm working at running 5 stores in Phoenix and I'll talk about this guy. His name is John Cleves, Larry Vantile. John Cleves is a partner for Larry Vantile. He's the biggest scumbag I've ever met in the car business. He's fired and got rid of more good people. And I don't know what he has on Larry Vantile. I don't know if he's caught him sucking somebody's dick or something like that. But at the end of the day, this guy's a real bad scumbag, and I'm working for him. So I turned the dealerships around. They asked me to first come into the Honda store, a Showcase Honda, big Honda store, and be the director of finance. And I've been around the car business a long time. I've ran every position. So I was living in Las Vegas. I said, okay, I'll rent a condo. I'll go see if I like it. I go down there. First thing they introduced me to this guy, Lewis, who I knew from Florida. And they loved Lewis. They were in love with him. He was going to his own insurance business. Well, this guy was a zero. He worked in a Honda store, a little baby store. He's got this big job. I don't know how he got it, and I don't give a fuck. I'm taking his place. So I meet everybody. So I'm in there, and then Honda comes in, introduces themselves. They introduce me. It's all lovey-dovey. First day, Honda says that I have an appointment on every Tuesday to hang my paper. Now, this is a 700-800 car store. On Tuesdays, I get to hang my paper. So I said, okay, if I'm going to hang everything with Honda, that's not a big deal for me. One day, boom, I hang everything. It's fucking done. I clean it because I don't believe in CITs.
And so, you know, Richie, for those listening who are not car people, when he says hang the paper, he's talking about getting the finance deals done from all the loans, getting them approved, talking to the bank, talking to Honda about why he gave the people a car and why you need to buy the loan. So go ahead.
So, you know, doing that with me, it's like a checkbook for me. I'm responsible to make sure that the dealership operates its financial business, paying off all of its cars, its trade-ins, customers on time. I don't believe in getting phone calls from customers. My car ain't paid off. I don't believe in saying, hey, the owner calls me and says, we're short $1 million because your contract's ain't paid. I never had those kind of meetings because I was responsible enough to use that money like it was my own for 2.5 decades. So I go in, this is a piece of cake. First meeting with Honda, the first that we start, we do like 150 cars. I got deals stacked up this high. And they get on the phone with Honda. The girl says she's out sick. I got to wait till next Tuesday. What? So I got an appointment next Tuesday. I already got 150 deals sitting up here. I'm trying to process them and get all the salesmen paid. Everything starts once a deal's done in the finance department, getting people paid, getting the banks paid, the payoffs, custom. It's just everything's there. Next Tuesday she comes on, and we're on for about an hour and a half, and I got 300 deals. She hangs probably about 50 out of the first 150. She don't buy the other 100. I says, wait a minute. I don't want to go revisit all these deals that you conditioned and did all this shit. You're 2 weeks late on these deals. I got to cash these contracts now. We have to find a way to buy all these deals and figure it out. Well, that's not how it works. I says, okay, honey, you have a nice day. So I call up a friend. I says, hey, Elise, she works for CRB as one of the reps. I said, I got 300 deals on my desk. How would you like to come over and you can get a shot at every single deal? CRB this California Republic Bank was trying to make a name for themselves, and I knew the president. So I called him up. We talked. Odalise comes in. They buy all 300 fucking deals. They didn't turn one down. Every deal left the thing. All my contracts. So two more weeks go by. I got no deals. The general manager calls me in the office, and Honda's there. Honda says, we're not getting any paper from you. I says, well, I don't have an appointment with you for another 2 weeks. I says, the first 2 weeks didn't work out too well. I had 300 deals. Your girl didn't buy any. So I sent them all to CRB, and they bought them all. I said, so I understand relationships. I come from a dealership that I hung 800 deals a month with one bank. So I believe in that, and you're the factory rep. I mean, I want to do business with you, but I can't have an appointment on fucking Tuesday. I said, that don't work for me. So the general manager kind of did no spine and everything. Well, let's try to figure this out. I says, well, the only way I can figure it out while I'm here is they pay attention to the deals, and we hang them every day. I don't believe in waiting until Tuesday. Let's just hang the deals every day. Well,
is that an East Coast thing? Is that a Honda
This was
thing?
in Arizona.
Never heard that before. Never heard of that before.
Yeah, this is in Arizona. I never heard it. But what was happening, like I said, the guy Jose was a weak fuck. Couldn't hang paper for his life. He just told what the bank told him. And that's not me.
Right.
The bank's going to work with me or for me. I've got the opportunity to give them 800 loans, and I know they need to buy the paper as bad as I need them to buy the paper. Yep. So I didn't take shit from them. So about 2 more weeks go by. My finance department's running fine. I hired some guys at the Hammers. We're up like $500 a car. There's no CITs. Everything's clean. So there's something going around the dealership. I hear little things. So I go to the general manager and says, what's going on? He says, well, I was going to talk to you today. I says, okay, what's the matter? He goes, Jose didn't like the insurance business that he was going to take, and we'd like to bring him back. I said, oh, yeah, okay, so be honest with me and tell me that. That's okay. My feelings are not hurt. You want Jose back? No problem. So the director of finance for the whole company, this guy, Tony Hilger, hears that. And he says, are you out of your mind? That guy's the strongest guy out in the car business, not just in finance, in every position. We put him there because you guys had that. He knows you're old guy. He comes from that market. So I says, listen, Tony, don't get upset. He goes, listen, Richie, I'm sorry. There's a GSM position right next door. They put a new GM in the store. He really can use it. He's young like you. It's a Mazda, VW, Subaru, and Volkswagen point, and a used car building. He said, you'll double what you're making in the finance department. I'll guarantee you X amount of dollars. Please go help him out. I says, Tony, I'm going home. So I went back to my hotel with every intention of going home. And he drives up there and hands me like a $20,000 check to say just to sign on to go there. Give the guy a chance. The guy, I meet with him for lunch. I like the guy. So I said, okay. Well, here's where John Cleves comes in. I'm in the store. The guy's letting me do all the things I need to do. He's staying out of my way. And first month goes by, we do like an extra 100 cars. Second month goes by, we do like another 100 cars. So we're up 200 cars in just a couple months between all the stores. Now I start getting involved in used cars. I do an extra 50. So we're up like almost 300 cars in 5 months. The 6th month, they come in, and next thing I know, I'm having lunch with the general manager. He's a partner. They just fired him. I says, what the fuck? We just put 300 cars on the books in 6 months, more than they've been doing. Our profits are up. Everything's going good. What are they doing? He says, well, they were trying to replace me when I hired you, I found out. But they had to buy me out. So things only got better, so they had to pay him more. So I'm thinking that maybe they're going to ask me to buy into the store. Because since they've seen the changes, I'm thinking that that's what's going to happen. Because Tony's close to that Larry Van Tile and John Cleves. And I don't know how he managed to stay out of their headlights, but I'm thinking that that's what they're going to do. The next thing they do, a couple of days later, they introduce me to the new partner. that they had been talking to for 6 months. Never interviewed me. This guy never looked at my resume. He never looked at anything of my credentials whatsoever. Not one thing. Not where I came from, not how long I was at my store, how many cars I sold, what I knew. Not one thing. So for my opinion of me, if you don't interview a car guy in your store, you're a fucking baffling idiot. I don't know how you're running fucking this big 100. At that time, we were selling out to Warren Buffett. And there was another guy involved that was working that deal, not him, because he's not smart enough to do a corporate deal like that with people from Wall Street. Didn't turn out that when I was 22 years old, the company that I worked for went public and I was involved in it when I was young. So they don't ask you nothing. So he brings this guy in. Guy introduced himself. We start talking. He's back from Jersey, and he mentions a couple guys' names. So he mentions this kid's name, John Grillo, and he goes, "You know this guy?" I says, "John, yeah." I says, "Why don't you have his number?" She said, "Yeah." I says, "Call the guy up right now." So he calls John Grillo. He says, "John, I'm in front of a guy named Rich Luciano. You know him?" John stops, takes a breath, breaks out crying, and says, "If it wasn't for Rich Luciano, I wouldn't have my house, my wife, my kids, my job, anything." When Richard was the finance director for DCH, he told the general manager, Manny Chang, who was also an operating partner of 6 stores, that he'll blow up the whole fucking store unless I get to give John Grillo the finance job that he trained me for 6 months. And the GM sat down listening, and the partner agreed. So I owe Richie everything because he taught me car finance and got me out of the sales department because they didn't want to lose my 25 Toyotas a month. John happened to be Joe's cousin that came in as the partner. So now I said, okay, this guy just told him the truth. I think I'm going to be fine with this guy. So I've got my cousin working there, and my cousin had a lot of hard times on the street, and I was straightening my cousin out from drugs and fixing his life up, him and his wife. And they were living with me in my condo. So I had made a deal with my cousin when I took him from Vegas. I says, "Hey, I'm going to take you from Vegas. I'm going to teach you back the car business. I'm going to put you as a manager. You're going to work the same schedule as me. You'll go to work with me every day. You'll live in the condo. And then in 6 months, I'll move out of the condo and you and your wife can take it over. And you can have a good job and clean, and you'll be clean." Well, little did he know that the only time that I took off since I was away from home was Sundays when I went to the movies for 2 hours. So he was working fucking bell to bell with me. But he was
right. Vegas is open Sundays, right?
Yeah. He was getting an education that was valuable. On the way to work to me, he would ask me questions. On the way home, he'd ask me questions. And during the day, I taught him. It was the only way I knew how to train anybody because I'm uneducated. I'm in the grind. The grind teaches you. So those situations come up. I use them as education for my salespeople, my managers. Even when I was a finance manager, I wouldn't chase the salesperson out. I made that motherfucker sit in the office through the whole financial transaction so he can see how it went down, what was placed, so that he would be able to help me with the customers, preset them to sell them. When I got promoted as a finance director, I wouldn't let my finance manager sit in the office unless they had a deal that they were processing, a deal that they were doing, or doing something constructive. If not, they're out on the floor closing deals. And I used to tell them, if you bring a deal to finance, we don't lose deals. And if a finance manager blows a deal in the office, I used to send them the fuck home because they're useless. Their mind is shot, their ego shot, everything's shot. They're fucking useless.
Well, so and again, Richie, though, not to interrupt you, back then, the deal wasn't really closed till it got.
Oh no, it was just.
You might have been $100 a part. You had to do a good job. You had to be good, make the deal. So I get it.
We managed to piece that shit together, keep it together, and make the deal. That's when it was finalized. Mm-hmm. So I said, if you're not doing a deal, get out there and close a deal, because at the end of the day, these guys need help, and believe it or not, you'll protect your money. And if you're going to work here with me, because I didn't make people work for me, you're going to do that. And that's going to help you with your money. And if you're not about money, you're in the wrong spot. I says, because I get paid an override on you. I says, and I get paid 5%. I used to tell them, I get 10%. My pay plan never changed when we were doing 200 cars to 1,000. I got paid 10% of what I wrote, and I got paid 15% of the department. So that was my pay plan. Every product that I personally sold, they gave me $25, and then I would get put up for bonuses over and above whatever that bullshit was. So I used to make them. I says, listen, I'm getting paid on you. If you don't get better, I don't make no money. So greedily, I taught them that stuff because I wanted more money. So I would teach them, but it was kind of out of my own greed. But they took it something different. They took it that I was trying to help them, which I was. You know, I used to tell people stories that I thought I cared about salespeople, and I used to tell them that. But when I really started living that and helping them is when my business grew. And I knew that if I could get these guys to all improve how many cars they sold, because as a salesperson, I sold 50. I couldn't sell anymore. I was maxed out.
How did you get the V-Auto? How did you get the V-Auto?
So when I was telling you the story about John Cleves and that with the partner and stuff, so now I'm with him about 6 months, and they want me to take on the Ford store, which was a fucking loser. Nobody in the Ford store ever made it. And here's what John Cleves said to me. He says, you can take on the Ford store. No, we're not going to increase your pay, but we're not going to cut your pay. Those are your choices. And I said to John, I says, no, you know what? That's not my only choices. I'm going to quit and resign. And I got my car to drive back to Vegas. It was great. It was Friday night. I'm going to see my wife now. I'm excited. I'm driving back. They're calling me all the way back. And I pick up the phone and says, yeah, what's up? He goes, we want to talk. I says, I already took another job. He goes, what the fuck do you mean you took another job? I says, first of all car dealerships call me all the time. I don't look to jump, but this company's called me V-Auto, and they've been pursuing me for 6 months. I'm already passed all the background checks. I'm already hired. I got to fly to Chicago next week, and I'm taking the job. I told them I'm taking it finally. Mosher called me up, and everything was done. I was doing all my backgrounds because I was having doubts, and I says, you know what? For once, I'm going to try it, because when I spoke to Michelle told me, Richard, here's what we want. We're going to train you software, but we want you to fucking talk like you talk. We want you to go into dealerships and help them sell more cars. That's what they were all about. That was it. My mission was, okay, so I get to talk like I talk, and I get to help these dealerships sell more cars, and you're giving me 100 accounts, and I'm going to speak to the owners and the GMs. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in. So when I got to V-Auto, met John, that was the mission. First day we walk in, Lady Barbara comes to the thing crying. Me and John walk up. We're the first ones to get there. She just lost her son, and she's at work opening the door for us. And me and John greet her and said, what are you doing? You need to go home. You can't be here. But that's the kind of culture in the company was. People like that worked at that company because they knew other people depended on them. And that's the way the company was. Their service and their support was top notch.
Richie, I sent an email or a message to Alex Taylor yesterday. And I sent him, he's the owner of Cox now. I said, those are the best 9 years I ever spent in the car business was at Cox. It was awesome. And I said, you ought to have a new permission for guys like me and you who are retired, but we're going to work for dealers. We're working for dealers. And we should have a permission like the PMs have. It doesn't have to be to see everybody, but in that particular group, if we're working there, we're not canceling your tools. We're not taking another product.
We're helping the music.
We're helping, showing them how to
drive an engagement.
And I said, you should go back to making the PMs, and no insult to PMs today, because you got a lot of accounts. They changed a lot of things. But when I started there, the guys I went to work with, the U3s, we're like the Navy SEALs of the car business. I'm not patting myself on the back or you on the back, but we are really fucking good at what we did.
Yeah, no, neither one of us expected to be working for a software company. But what they told me, it says, hey, just help your customers sell more cars. Your pay is going to be about $1 this plus your commissions. Okay. So I remember doing my first meeting, and I'll tell some stories about how we started. My first meeting was in Miami. Do you remember we went to Miami and someone I got
Yeah.
I was on a patio in my bathing suit on Miami Beach doing a meeting with a dealer back east. I'm talking to him, and I'm saying, I can't believe I have this fucking job. And it was good because I knew my way. Even coming out of training, 16-week was the most intensive thing I've ever did training in my life for any kind of education. And I had zero experience with computers. Fortunately, there were some car guys that we knew content because we had been using V-Auto, and we knew how to present these things, and they were software guys, and we kind of worked together to get us through the schooling. Because you had to
forgot about Jimmy. Jimmy passed away. Jimmy Richter. He was one of the best. He was with us, and he passed away. But
Jimmy was the kind of guy that had to take the computer apart and see how it works and put it back together. He was kind of like my mentor, computer-wise. John and me were content-wise.
He was so big. He comes down to my room because we had to stay at the hotel. We didn't get to leave. He got to go home twice.
16 weeks in Chicago in a hotel freezing. In January.
So I was the only one used to it because I was from Chicago.
You were there.
But I can remember Richter. He was such a fucking he was a clown. He would fucking do the craziest things. Anyhow, he comes down to me and he goes, I got a question. I need some help on this. Okay. He comes to my door in his underwear and a halter top with his computer, his t-shirt all rolled up. He's like, and he's talking to me with a straight face, like, hey, can you help me with this? And I'm just looking at it like, you are fucking insane. You're absolutely fucking insane.
It's going to be fun doing this because I bring up stories. You start thinking about it. How about when I made everybody, we were missing home, and I made everybody meatballs and macaroni.
Yeah.
In the hotel room. Yeah. I went out because they have stores in Chicago, like Brooklyn. So I went out and got the pork, the veal, the beef. I came back got fresh pastas. I got mozzarella. I got ricotta. I made fucking meatballs of the thing. We were instead of eating in the food or eating out, we all had meatballs and stuff. John was fortunate not to go home. But I was in the hotel, and I'm stuck with guys from Ohio. They're not from where I'm from. And that's a story that John and me, when I met John was ready to explode after 2 days. This wasn't for him, wasn't even for me. But I managed to talk John off the ledge.
Yes, he did.
And then John talked me off the ledge because I was getting calls from car dealers. So was he. What do you mean?
I can remember. We were in the elevator. Yeah. We were in the elevator, and I was like, I'm quitting today. And
I wanted to leave.
No, don't, not today. No, today I'm making the pasta today. Not today. and I was ready to go. I mean, if it wasn't for you and it wasn't Michelle, because Michelle said the same thing that she said basically.
I mean, it's 11 years later. John's one of my closest friends. We still communicate. I still communicate with the guys there, but not me and John are close. John's been to my house. Had dinner, met my family. So we're close.
Staying at your house,
It comes from being bond. In fact, it turns out a decade ago, I was looking to leave the car business. John interviewed me for a job when he was running Camping World. And he said, holy shit, I remember you now. I was going to hire you from Camping World. Then I ended up leaving and going back to Chicago. I said, I remember because I told him I wanted to get the fuck out. I'm tired of it. I want to take a change. And that was what led up to V-Auto 2. When I finally accepted that job, leaving Van Tile, when I told them I had 3 choices, and they told me, what's the third choice? I said, you can go fuck yourself, and I'm going to go to work for V-Auto. So, that's my Larry John Cleave story, and ever since then, it's been a scumbag. The one thing I said to them, and I said, listen, I've been at your stores a couple of years now. I've placed a lot of people in your stores. A lot of people like me. I said, you take care of my cousin, Joe, and I won't blow up your fucking stores. And you know what that means. I won't take the processes out. I won't change all the people and get them better jobs. I'm not trying to solicit them. Otherwise, I'm going to go to your fucking competitors, go work, and I'm going to come after you with everything I got and hire your people. How
did you get in the car business in the beginning? How did you originally get in the car business?
So that's a funny story. So I told you when I went back from Las Vegas to New York, I had been in the business a little bit when I was 16, 17, doing referrals. My dad was best friends with a guy that was a general manager named Tom Saida in Las Vegas. My dad used to buy a brand new car every year, one for my mother, one for then the next year get one for him. So he became friends. Well, this guy made an impression on me because he was in a suit all the time, dressed up to the T's. My father was like a good customer. He'd be in his office, and Tom was classy. Well, Tom gave me a summer job when I was 16 years old, and I used to bring them referrals and from people high school. I'd get a couple $100. So that was great. I didn't actually participate in the sale, but all these kids looking for cars, I'd bring them to Tom. So I was working one summer like a porter. I don't even remember what fucking job I had. So it was Saturday morning. I come to work. I'm doing my thing. Tom calls me to his office. He goes, listen, here's $100. Go to Mervin's. Go get some pants, a shirt, and some shoes. Back then, you could buy that. You're selling cars today because the salesman didn't come in. They went to a bachelor party. They were all fucking hung over. Nobody showed up and coked out. Because back then, drugs and alcohol ruled the car business. Yeah. So I went to work the first day. I sold the car. That week, I probably made about $800, which was more than my father made. And I liked it, but I was young. So I worked the whole summer. And then I go back to New York when I'm 18. I graduate high school. So I go back to New York. I'm in this tremendous accident. And I had an apartment in Vegas. I was living on my own, and I was a street kid. I didn't have to go to work. But I didn't have enough money to survive after I got in the accident, and I couldn't have both places. So I'm stuck in New York. What am I going to do? So my mom says, why don't you go sell cars? I said, okay, but I don't really have the clothes. So my Uncle Nippy, who's a big guy, gangster guy, gives me fucking suits that were too big for me. So I get him taken in monster suits, but they were beautiful suits. He was a gangster, stone cold gangster, but good guy. So I go down to this Chrysler dealership on 86th Avenue in Brooklyn, and I go fill out an application for a job. So I meet this guy, Freddie, who's probably 30 years old. He's the GSM. And a guy named Joe Spinelli, who's probably 45 years old, 6'5", dressed to the T's. And I meet them, I fill out the application, and I meet the salespeople. So they start telling me I got to do this. I got to go get all these books from all these other dealerships and read all the stuff about the cars. So I do that the first week. Then the next week they tell me, okay, the Aries K just came out. So they're going to let me loose on Saturday. I'm going to have the whole week to learn how to sell the Aries K. No matter what the customer comes in, you sell them an Aries K. If they come in for this, you sell them an Aries K. They come in for this, you sell them an Aries K. You sell them a fucking Aries K. So it's Saturday morning. They had an up system. I was the first guy in to get an up. So this couple walks in, older couple. They're probably in their 60s. I introduced myself up. I do all the training perfect. The people said, we want to look at trading our Chrysler New Yorker for one of the Fifth Avenues. I says, okay, great. Yeah, no, we got those. I said, let me ask you a question. Sit down here. And I start going through my sales pitch. I says, I know that you want but if you give me 5 minutes, I could probably help you save some money and get you exactly what you want. So I told him the Soul Store, 2-door, 4-door, light colors, dark colors, stick shifts, automatic, what do you want? So I said, let me ask you a question. If I could give you all the features that are in your Chrysler New Yorker and save you $10,000 in the new model that just came out, would you let me show you that car? Because it has everything you said, but it's $10,000 less expensive. Yeah, of course. So I take them to the Aries K. I pull it up front. I open the doors for them. I put them in the car. I go for about a 30-minute ride with them. I take them under the bridge. I take them all over to Brooklyn. They're driving the car. We stop. We get bagels, have some bagels, come back. We go back to the dealership. I start going into the appraisal process. I get their car appraised. I come back. I present them with this. I said, okay, this is the undercoating package. It's $19.95. This is what it does. If you want the tire sealant, this, you can get this. And also, by the way, if you do it this much, you can get the warranty to cover the car for 7 years, bumper to bumper. So here's the numbers. Here's this. Which one do you want? They signed the deal first pencil. It was still $7,000 cheaper. They got everything. The undercoat, paint proof, rough proof, and they got the warranty. I sell the car $2,000 over sticker because the cars were only like $6,900 or something like that. I sell for like $9,000.
Yeah.
Right. The deal in basically they're trading their car and they have to pay $5,000. I get the check. I bring it into Joe Spinelli's office. So Joe Spinelli, and Freddie's the general sales manager. He wasn't there to sign the deal. So I go in Joe Spinelli's office. Joe has an office that's probably 4 by 8. And he has these portable air conditioners that you know from Chicago that used to go in the window. He has it at fucking 50 degrees when you walk in his office. You're like this shivering like this because it's always ice cold. He's in there. Now, the reason I found out later why it's always cold, I'll tell you that later. But I bring the deal to Joe. I says, Joe, here, this is the deal. The guys I sold him the car, Freddie wasn't there to sign it. He goes and turns around and looks at me. He says, they came in for a Chrysler New Yorker. I says, you told me to sell them an Aries K. So I sold him the Aries K. Here's the deal. It's a good deal. I sold them rust-proof undercoat paint. I got the addendum. I took their trade-in under allowance. He looks at me, signs the deal. Freddie to Joe's office. Joe comes in the office. Freddie comes into Joe's office. Joe turns around and says, you told me this was a joke. He says, what are you talking about? He says, you told me this kid's not hired here. It was a joke. He just sold the car for fucking $5,000 over at list price and sold all the packages. What do you mean it's a joke? So I didn't know that they really hired me, the salespeople, as a joke because of how I looked when I came in with this oval fucking suit. You know, I had the confidence to do this stuff, but I looked like a monkey. You know, I was a deer in the headlights in the car business to these guys. You know, it's like they treat people down. I was one of the outsiders. Well, after that, that was it. It's over now. They knew now I can close deals. I can do the thing, and I started.
That's hilarious.
I was selling 20, 22 Chrysler back then a month, which was tremendous money. You know, it's $15,000 a month. I'm only 21, 22 years old. So I go to work for a Toyota dealership. Actually, I'm sorry. I went to work for a Honda dealership. And they introduced me in the Honda dealership. And there was a girl there. Her name was Ann Kaplan. Why do I remember 40 years later this girl? She used to sell 50 to 70 cars a month. Wow. And the first thing I do, because a guy named Richie Willis, who I knew was working there, he got me in. I go up to Ann, I'd like to introduce myself, and she says, nice to meet you, Papa. I says, I just want to let you know that I'm going to beat you, and it's going to take me probably 6 months, but I will beat you, and that's my goal, but I respect you. And we met that way. I never beat that bitch, but I was doing 60 Hondas a month, fresh ups. She had back then we used to sell to Enterprise. She had Enterprise locked up for 30, 40 cars a month, so I couldn't beat her. But what I used to do was manage it. Back then we had these tax on the board, silver tax. And what the tax was the cars that you sold and the income. Sure. So on Saturday morning, I would say, who wants Honda Civics? Raise your hand. 6 people. Come here. I do a walk around right there with us. I'll put them on. So based on the negotiation of the profits of the deals is how people got their cars. If I had a $2,000 deal and was coming in, a $100 deal that was there, fucking $100 deal went to the bottom, the $2,000 deal got the car. So there was people on the list that just eventually got their cars, but it would be 4 or 5 months later because they were small deals, small profits. So
that's part of the problem with the car business, though. Today, think how much training we had to go through as salespeople. I mean, I was put in a room with the videos.
Yeah,
you had to read every fucking pamphlet. They don't even have them out anymore. You had to do all that. Then you had to shadow a fucking guy who took
Vic.
half
My
the
guy was
deal
Vic
for a month.
He took half my deals, Vic.
Yeah,
when I got my paycheck, I says, "Where's half my fucking paycheck?" Vic.
Yeah,
I remember the guy.
They
So
don't do that
learn your
anymore.
lessons. How do I remember Vic 40 years later? Because he took half my money. I didn't need him to close the deals. I just bring him to make sure the paperwork was right. And he put him. I was the best closer in the dealership at my age. But he put his name on. Yeah, the paperwork's correct. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Give me half a deal. I didn't know that.
My guy was Norm. If I didn't close them, I would hand Norm the keys and say, Norm, they're parked in back. Because if I didn't close them, you sure the fuck ain't going to close them. Because I know I'm better than you, but here's the keys. Let me grab another up.
Dude, I was
and an up, by the way, is a customer. That's what we call it, is ups.
I was so cocky. I used to pull customers out of the thing and sell them the car, right out of the car that people let go. I used to go to the general manager and say, I can't, why did you give me every up? These fuckers can't close anybody. You're wasting my money. Every time somebody walks out here, it costs me money. I says, I can. They love that about me. And how I got into management, this is another story, but this is going to lead in time at my wife. So I go to work at this Toyota dealership, and there were some friends of mine that we hung out. And their families owned the dealership. So did my wife, who was working there. Her father was friends with the owner, a guy named Carmelo Giuffre. He had 7 or 8 stores. And I'm as a salesperson, my friend Michael Ionelli, who owns like 10 stores now, he was related to them. But we were selling cars. But we were also friends on the outside, drinking Absolute Vodka on Friday night, Saturday, getting hammered. So we lived that life. And the car business, I was always a top salesperson, but I wanted to get into finance. I would fill in for whatever finance manager went on vacation, and I'd run better numbers. And the reason I wanted to get into finance, they were the highest paid. I just wanted to make more fucking money. I was greedy. I wasn't ungenerous, but I wanted to make more money. So when I got married to my wife, and I had been at the dealership for a couple of years, I used to take the office girls out to lunch once a week. I never tried to date them, and I was friends with them. And then I started, it was one Saturday, it was pouring outside, and we're in the Dodge dealership, and there's several salespeople. The girls are walking by, and they're all in high heels, skirts, short skirts, and they're all dressed to 10s, and they were all beautiful, really beautiful. Never had an office staff this beautiful. The guy said, "Oh, that's Rosanna. She don't go out with anybody." I says, "You guys are punks." I says, "I'll bet you $1,000 I could take her out." So I took a bet with a couple of guys in there, and I had known Rosanna for about a year, and we had been talking. We never dated, so I knew what to do. I went to this guys that was the Gambinos, I told you, because they knew her father, and I says, "Listen, I'd like to, John, can you talk to your dad?" This kid. I says, "Can you talk to your dad? I want to go out with Rosanna, and the only way she'll go out with me is if I get an introduction from your father that says it's okay. And then you guys got to go out with me. I know that's what the fathers are going to say." So sure enough, they go see her father, say, "Hey, this is a good kid. He works, blah, blah, blah." So I meet her father. Her father says to me, and he just passed away 2 weeks ago, so I'm telling you a story. But her father says to me, "All right," he speaks in Italian, "You come here Friday night. My wife, my daughter comes here after work. They told me you're a good guy. You take her out from here. But Danny and Tommy got to go with you." So now it's me, my friend Danny, Tommy, and their girlfriends. We go get Rosanna, pick her up. She's like, doesn't want to come, but she comes. So we go to Dangerfield's in Manhattan, Rodney Dangerfield's nightclub. I don't remember if we went to dinner. We might not have, because we were getting hammered. So we order bottles of Dom Perignon. That's what we drink. And we're probably 3-4 bottles in. We're all hammered now. And she starts ordering bottles of Dom Perignon with her gold American Express card. So she's lit up, lit. My wife has a strange laugh. I don't even know if you've heard it, but the laugh, you cannot, it's hysterical. People hear it and they go crazy. So we're all lit up, probably 15 bottles of champagne, and Rodney Dangerfield comes out to do his act. As he's coming out to do his act and they're introducing him with the spotlights, Rosanna gets up to go to the bathroom, knocks over the cocktail waitress as Dangerfield comes on. The spotlight goes right on her, and he never stopped all night. And then her laugh comes out. It was one of the funnest nights that I ever had. Check comes. bill's like $2,500. Okay. She spent a bunch of money on her credit card too, but that's the rest of the bill. I have to pay it. They're coming along with a double D. So I pay the bill. I go to the dealership. I collect $2,000. I said, it didn't cost me fucking $500 to go out on a date with her. I was married 37 years later. Crazy. That's a story in the car.
Oh my gosh. Well, I gotta say, I love you. You know, I love Ro. She's one of my favorite people. You guys are great. So we're at about the end of how far we go, Richie. So this is what we're gonna. So everybody knows this is gonna be a weekly thing. Richie and I will be on talking bullshit, talking about current events, talking about life as we know it in the car business and what we've done. But I can't tell how much fun it is having you. It's exactly how I envisioned
this for a long time, Badgie. I've been wanting to do
exactly how I envisioned it, right, Badge?
Yeah.
Is this what I said?
Yeah, this is
like I fought with. I was afraid to even do this because I'm hurt really bad, and I still have an operation to come up. And I was really afraid that the company was saying I got to go back to work because they think I can do these meetings. I couldn't do them at the time. John knows what I've been going through because the medicine. I'm starting to feel better. I retired from our company. I feel comfortable enough that I can do these hour things without being in so much pain. But I hope that I can bring some enjoyment and some pleasure. Some of the stories that we'll tell you guys that
this is going to be so much fun. I love it.
I can already tell this is exactly when this is my first time officially meeting you. And this, when I heard about the stories, and obviously I've known John a long time too. He gave me my first job in the car business.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So once I heard his vision, and now I'm seeing it. This is going to be something special.
You got to remember, it's 42 years. He's got that same time. There's so much shit, and not even just the stories I have. Imagine when I start bringing people on, the guests. I mean, there's stuff that I could tell you that women took their clothes off to get a discount in the dealership. Literally took their clothes off and offered sex to get discounts. I mean, there's crazy shit that went on in the car business that was unbelievable that nobody else would believe.
We're going to get into all that stuff. It's going to be now. This is going to be the real, true confessions of a car guy.
Oh yeah.
This is what this is going to be. We're going to change. I don't know if we can get the website, but we're going to even change the name to Car Guys because that's what it's going to be. But I'm so glad you were able to make it, and you're on now.
Well, I just want to let people enjoy some of the stories. Some of the stories will touch on the car business. Some of the stories are going to touch on real life stuff. And it's like me. I look at people in the family, and I say, "Holy shit, this guy killed 15 people, and he's doing a fucking podcast on Facebook. What kind of world are we living in? You get out, you get a second chance, and you're on Facebook doing fucking things." I mean, it's crazy.
And there's a lot of shows out now. You know, the dealership space is becoming very public, but they're boring as hell.
First of all, there's no car guys left. So I'll give you a little just taste off the record for it. So I go to get my niece a car at this one of my accounts, Toyota store. So the one thing that I never did, I never took money and kickbacks from the dealerships. If I bring them a deal, I didn't want the $200 bird dog. I never was like that.
Me neither.
Take care of my customer. That's
never
it.
taking a bird.
So my niece gets a car. I agree to everything. Now, I looked up what they were selling the car for. I knew what the deal was. It was fair. The appraisal was fair. She was new. They got a credit rate of like 10%. That was fair. They couldn't get her lower. I didn't even get involved because I could have hung the deal, but I didn't. So my niece calls me up. She says, I bought a certified car, which she did. There's no floor mats. So I go see the guy that makes the deal. Quincy, I had to be there. And I says, listen, there's no floor mats in the car. Can you get my niece floor mats? He goes, the deal I took, it was so this, so that, There wasn't enough money. I says, okay. So I text the owner the next day and I says, hey, Howard, I always bring deals to you guys. I got 2 deals this month. I didn't take any money, but my niece bought a car certified. It's supposed to have floor mats according to the CPO program. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I get a call from the general manager the next day, apologizing, I says, listen, so people make mistakes in car dealerships. I don't want you to punish anybody. Let it be a lesson to, you got to take care of your customer. I didn't, you sell that many cars, you think that I robbed everybody. The reason I sold so many cars is I took care of those fucking customers.
That's right.
I still sell 10, 20 cars a month from the days that I'm not in the business. So, take care of people, they'll take care of you. I want everybody that listens to this podcast to get a kick out of our experiences in the car business and what it was, what it is, and what it is now. Because
I think they will. I think they will.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going out to dinner with one of my buddies in Florida.
Enjoy dinner.
Thank you for joining us. Our website's up above. Follow us online and tune into our next episode. Again, thanks, Huck, and also Zenzio AI for all of your support. See you guys next time.
You got some sponsors. You're going to blow up. I can promise you that.
All right, brother.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, pal. Thank you, guys. Talk to you later.
You guys.
Bye.